Kellie with Pins and Needles Kits, and today I just kind of want to go over the different parts of a sewing machine. For those of you that are new to sewing, it's always helpful to know what is what on the machine. Okay, so most machines are pretty similar. This is a Bernina 350 Special Edition, and so this is my travel machine. I use this machine whenever my other machines are doing machine embroidery, but it's a great machine for beginner, for just about anybody really. So my Special Edition is probably about 5 years old. So every year for the last several years, Bernina does a limited edition, special edition that's different. So the faceplate changes. So this last year they did 2 different machines from cotton and steel. And then a couple of years ago they did a Ricky Tim's and a Tula Pink. So every year it's going to look a little bit different. And so it's kind of almost like a collector's edition when you get one. I just want to kind of go over what's on this machine. So right here is the hand wheel, and so on this particular machine the needle always stops in the up position, or I can push a button right here and tell it to stop in the down position. What is nice about that on a machine is that I don't know if you've ever been sewing along and the needle stops part of the way down and then you turn the hand wheel, and when you get ready to sew it unthreads the needle. Have you ever? I think we've all had that happen to us. So what that is, well, the reason is because that take-up lever, which is over here, needs to always be all the way up when you get ready to start sewing, and then it won't unthread the needle for you. So with the needle stop up and down, the machine automatically does that. So if you have a machine that doesn't have that, make sure that you turn that hand wheel towards you until the take-up lever is all the way up. So next is, up here we have the bobbin winder on this particular machine. This one is automatic. As soon as you push this little guy over, it starts winding the bobbin. Okay, so when you wind a bobbin on this particular machine, if the machine is threaded, you have an auxiliary stand here, and you can put your thread here and then go through this little guide right here, go around, and then you'd wind your thread around the bobbin a little bit and then start it. Now, one thing that I've noticed that a lot of people do is they'll have a little bit of thread left on their bobbin and they'll just leave that on there and wind more thread over it, and that's a big no-no. So you always want to start with an empty bobbin, and if you're not going to need the whole bobbin full, then just stop it before you get it all the way full. But when you wind thread on top of thread on top of thread, then as it gets to the end of that thread, it can cause you to have a lot of issues with your sewing. So that's the bobbin. On this one you have tension right here, and there's a little red line, and if you leave the machine on the red line, you pretty much are not going to have any tension issues with this machine. I love that feature. The other feature I like on this machine is that when the machine is threaded and the presser foot is up, it releases all the tension, and your tension discs are right in here, and so you're able to pull the thread freely. When you lower the foot, it locks in the tension, and so you know that you're ready to sew. So what I always tell people is, as you're threading the machine, make sure that your presser foot is up as you go across, down, up, and then back down. And then when you get to this part right here, go ahead and put your presser foot down. Feel the tension on your thread. If you don't feel tension, you don't have it threaded correctly, and that will keep you from having a lot of what we call a bird's nest, which is all that thread that balls up in the bottom of your machine. Alright, this one has a little cutter on the side, so once I get it down here, then I can cut it right there. Also has a needle threader on it. And one thing I really love about Bernina machines are the feet, and some machines have snap-on feet and some machines have feet that screw on. With these, there's a little lever here in the back. You just pull it up and the whole foot comes off. So it makes it really nice and easy to change feet on your machine. The other thing that Bernina does with their feet is they do a lot of specialty things on them. For instance, this is a 1/4 inch foot, and so that means that from the needle to the side of the foot is exactly 1/4 inch, and then you have little markings on here, little notches, and those notches are all 1/4 inch from each other. Then this toe is an 1/8 inch, so if you needed to do precise little 1/8 inch piecing, you can do that as well. And then lastly, on most of the feet, there's a little screw back here, and they provide you with a seam guide that slides through there, and you tighten it up, and then that way if you're doing quilting, you can move your seam guide so that you're able to have everything exactly right. Another nice feature is the throat plate. The throat plates do not have screws, so to take them off, you just simply press on this little, like a target back here, you push that down and the throat plate pops off so if you need to get in there. The other thing is it has lots of markings. It has 3/8, 5/8, there's a 1/4 inch right there, and it on both sides. And then if you notice, there's 2 lines that go across the center here. So this first line is actually where the needle goes into the fabric. So if you line up your fabric with this back line, then you'll know that when you start to sew, the needle will always be right in the fabric. There's also some angled lines on here as well. And then in the back it has millimeter. This machine also comes with a tray table, which is really handy. It has measurements across the front. It also has lines here for 1/4 inch, 5/8, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. This line right here in the center is where the needle actually is. So it makes it really easy to keep your fabric nice and straight. The other feature that it has is it has this plexiglass window here so that if you need to get into the bobbin area, you're able to do that. You can see what you're doing. And then to take the tray table off, there's a little button here you just push and then pull the tray table off. And then you're able to use the free arm of the machine. Okay, so the front of the machine has some buttons here. These are your quick buttons where if you just push number 1, it goes to stitch number 1, which is straight stitch. Number 2 would be your zigzag, and so on and so forth. It has a buttonhole here. This one has, I believe, 80 stitches. I don't have my card with me, but approximately. And so if you wanted stitch number 45, you just touch the pound symbol and then 4, 5. And the machine presets the width, the length, the needle position, everything you need for that particular stitch. If I want to go back to a straight stitch, I just press number 1 and it goes back to the default settings for number 1. Another feature that I really love is this has something called temporary altered memory. And so that means if I make a change to stitch number 1, say I want to change the length, I can make the stitch longer. I can go to stitch number 3, I can move the needle on it, and then when I go back to stitch number 1, it remembers the changes that I made. And so it will do that for every single stitch on this machine until you hit clear or turn the machine off. This is my stitch width buttons, this is my needle position, and this is my stitch length. And so on the screen it'll show you, here's the width, this is the length, and then these are the needle positions across here. It's telling me stitch number 1 and presser foot number 1, and then there's a little picture of the eye of a needle and it has an arrow pointing up. That's telling me that the machine's always going to stop in the up position. Or if I push the button here, then it's going to say it will always stop in the down position. You also have pattern end. So if you're doing, say you're doing a little heart design, you could stitch the heart, and before you finished, if you push this, then the machine will stop when it finishes with that one heart. Let's see, clears down here. And then you also have a memory. So the memory allows you to combine stitches on the machine. There's a couple of alphabets, so if you open up the memory and then open up the alphabet, you can program in names, so you could do quilt labels, anything like that. Then close the memory and it goes right back to the stitch you were on. Now you can also sew with or without the foot control on this machine. So if you take the foot control off and you push this button right here, you touch that, the machine starts stitching. This is your speed control for that, so you can go slow or you can go fast. And then your reverse button is right here. So that's pretty much everything on the front of the machine. It's a really user-friendly machine. It sews really well. It's just my favorite little machine. Oh, one other thing, you can drop the feed dogs. So if you want to do free motion stitching, there's a button on the side of the machine. You just push it and the feed dogs drop down. And then you would be the one moving the fabric. And then when you're ready to start stitching, if you take a stitch, it will raise the feed dogs for you. So the feed dogs are this part right there, and that's what feeds the fabric as you're stitching. So Bernina machines are all metal on the inside. They're Swiss made machines, so they're just really a good quality machine. I think the pricing starts at about $7.99 approximately, and and goes up to like $11,000, and I'll be showing you my machine, that machine, on another day. This one, the special editions, I believe the MSRP on them is about $18.99. You can go to Bernina.com. You can go to find a dealer, and you can put in your zip code, and it will show you where a dealer is in your area. All Berninas come with classes so that you learn how to use the machine. So it's really important to get lessons and learn all the things that your machine will do. I believe that Bernina also sells some machines online as well at their website, so you can just check out Bernina.com and see what they have to offer. So don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and also to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Bye!